Welcome, welcome, welcome to my channel. My name is Rainer. This is Rainier Books. I love books, and this is the channel where I speak about them. And today it is time for a review about one of the shortlisted books for the Booker Prize 2025. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about sex, let's talk about flesh, let's talk about meat, let's talk about flesh by David Szalay. 9 years ago, Szalay was already shortlisted for All That Man Is, and he often writes about masculinity, and he does it also in this book, but not only about masculinity. Born in Canada 51 years ago, David Szalay moved as a young child, I believe, to England. He studied in Oxford, but he also has lived several years in Hungary, the country where his name and also his ancestors came from. Flesh plays half in Hungary and half in the United Kingdom, half in the city, the beautiful city of London, and something outside of London. It centers around a person named István. That's, I believe, how you should pronounce it, whom we accompany through different times and periods of his life, I think in 9 chapters, and there's always time running out between those chapters. So we meet István in different periods of his life. The first part, or the first chapter of the book, is sexual awakening, the sexual awakening of István. He's 15 years old. He lives in a rural town, or in a town which is not Budapest, somewhere a small town in Hungary. And he lives with his mother, and they have a neighbor in the house where they are living, where they are renting an apartment. And this neighbor is a woman in her early 40s, I believe. And one day she asks István's mother if István could help her to carry home her groceries. And the mother says, yeah, please, István, do that. And reluctantly he says, yes, okay, I will do that. I will help this woman. And this turns out to be a case of sexual abuse, or as we would say in Sweden, according to our laws, this is rape, because this 42-year-old woman, I believe, is having sex with István. She's seducing him. That's what we would have said maybe 20, 25, 30 years ago, but now we see this as rape because minors are not capable of deciding, and they are always superior in every kind of relationship of this way, even if they seem to be voluntarily engaged in what's happening, what István is. He communicates in very short sentences with this woman. She asks him something. He says, okay. He says, yes. He says, no. Only short words. And this is something that we are going to see repeatedly, again and again and again, in all the ages that we are going to meet, in all the stages and ages we're going to meet István in this novel. István then falls in love with his abuser. And at one point he says to that woman, I love you. And that is the point where she immediately says, you don't know what you're talking about, and where she immediately ends the relationship or / the abuse. So István doesn't understand why she rejects him. He had connected sex with love in his young age, and he is very upset about it. So he repeatedly tries to get to that woman, talk to her, please let us be lovers again, let's have sex again, which for him is love. She refuses. She doesn't want to talk to him anymore. And one day he happens to end up in a sort of conflict with the husband of that woman, and the husband falls down the stairs and dies. And István is being sent to a correctional facility for several years. And here ends the spoiler, because I'm spoilering only chapter 1. Please let me do that and let me spoil chapter 1, because this is going to set everything that happens after that into motion. István is incapable of communicating with a woman that could be his mother in the first chapter. His way of speaking is very, very restrained. I said that, okay, yes, good. This will not change much over the decades that follow. Szalay lets some years pass between the chapters, sometimes quite a bunch of years, and slowly he reveals what might have happened after the last episode. Some things we do not find out, but sex and the flesh, the meat, plays a very important role. Women are always attracted to István when he was a young boy, apparently, but in all the stages of his life, we're going to meet him, women are more or less pretty much attracted to István. The relationship to them is not verbal, but mostly sexual. And the way things go in these relationships often lead to a change of István's life situation. I found the novel to be very, very immersive. I remember I started it last Friday, read the first chapter, then on Saturday I read 150 pages, and on Sunday another 150 pages, and the book was over. So it was very immersive. It's very easily read and very easily accessible. There are many dialogues, very often very sparse with just a few words, as I suggested. Also, there are quite some twists and turns, and things happen and things change and life changes within seconds, within minutes at times for Istvan and the ones that he is living with or around. Exactly as that might happen in real life. Even our lives can change within seconds to the worse, and very few times to the better. Something might happen to us or to our loved ones, and nothing will be the same again. And that is also in that novel. Shalay's writing is very easy and very accessible, as I said, and that reminded me of a guy named Ernest Hemingway. It's a Hemingway-esque style. It's easy, but it's never simple or trivial. A few things are said, a lot of things remain unsaid between the lines, and you have to find out, you have to think about what has been left unsaid here. Istvan, he comes as an adult to London, he comes to from Eastern Europe to Western Europe, a situation that thousands of people have encountered, tens of thousands of people. He is an immigrant from Eastern Europe, and he's limited in his ability to adapt and also to speak. His way of communicating and also working is through his body, through his flesh. He works as a security guard where his body is a tool in England. There is not much space for feelings. When somebody says, "I love you," the other person will say, "Don't say that." People fulfill their bodily needs, their desire for sex. And between these scenes, there's a lot of silence and there's a lot of coldness. It's cold and chilly. In Flash, it's Istvan having sex with women that enable him to advance in terms of class mobility. Then belonging and not belonging to the upper class is a topic of the book. Istvan achieves that only through physicality, not by education or hard work. He never studies in Oxford like Szalay did. For David Szalay, man and masculinity are very much defined by their physicality. Men have bodies that desire, that suffer, that decay, and that fail. The author himself has said that he believes that the body is primary. Istvan experiences himself first as animal and then as a social being, something which he definitely sucks because he's not interested at all in what his women think or feel. And he has nothing to say about anything either. But still women are attracted to him. So what worries me now is why I was so immersed in this book. I think I wanted to see Istvan fall and fail at some point. He's so dislikable and really impersonating masculinity that has done so much harm to our world. If Istvan communicates to others, he does it through sex or through his body, as a bodyguard, for example. Ultimately, and we see parts of that in the novel, bodies will age, they will decay, they will fail, they will wither, and they will die. Istvan realizes that his pubic hairs get grayish at some point and that his penis is looking smaller. This also mirrors the collapse of traditional male roles as workers, as lovers, and providers. Men have built their identities on something that must ultimately fail. In Flash, Istvan doesn't understand his own motives, he just reacts to things. His sexual and social movements seem accidental and not chosen. He experiences life as a series of physical events, not as a moral or emotional journey. This hollowness is the condition of modernity for David Szalay, a world of work, consumption, travel, and sex where everything happens but nothing means. Shalay's universe is one in which everything, desire, class, love, aging, language, unfolds according to forces beyond our control, and the individual is little more than a body moving through those forces. But the fatalism in Flash isn't just pessimism, it's diagnostic, even philosophical. Szalay isn't celebrating meaninglessness, he's showing what happens when we strip away illusion, and he asks, what remains if all the old stories about purpose and transcendence are gone? And here I say, I had some reminiscence of Jean-Paul Sartre, of the existentialists, that there's a fatalism in David Shalay's writing, which I must have found attractive or not. I think this novel has, I was so immersed in this novel. I read 350 pages in 48 hours, but, and I gave it 4 stars. Or should I give it 5 stars because I read it so quickly and it fulfilled its purpose that the author has, that he wanted to attract. Of course, he wants to attract readers to that novel, but thinking more and more of that novel and of Istvan and what happens to him and what his world is focused on, there's no likable character in this novel, but still it was very interesting to read. So I think that Szalay might have a good chance of winning the Booker Prize 2025, but you never know what this jury is going to do. So personally, I am still thinking about, should I read All That Man Is, which I haven't done yet? What is your experience of Flash by David Szalay? Please tell me everything in the comments down below and help me understand this novel and help me get back my belief in humankind, that this is not only about flesh, what we are living in. Thanks for watching the video. As always, please subscribe to the channel because you help me so much. I want to talk to authors like David Szalay, but I will only be capable of sort of getting them to talk to me when I have enough subscribers, and I can guarantee them some kind of views and visibility on the internet. So subscribe to the channel, comment down below, give me a like, and I see you very soon in another one on this channel. Hope you have a great weekend and see you later. Bye-bye.